Hello and welcome to a Kooky Corner of YouTube. Today I am having a look making some dangly tassels out of old ribbons and any scraps of yarn that you have. You could also use any of your scrap fabrics, provided they're thin enough to drape. So you don't want anything too thick in these. I feel for the feel of them. So any thin georgette kind of fabrics. Let me think. Organza would probably work as well. But nice thin fabric silk would be great. So if you've got some of the sari silk or the ribbon, the sari ribbon, that would be awesome. But yes, I made these two just now, and this one I have made as a bookmark. I've got myself these cool metal bookmarks, and I thought this would be perfect for my dangly thing. And I also want one to go on a journal that I'm going to make. Actually, I want a few of these, so I'm going to keep going with them. But I was watching, I've been watching loads of videos on tassel making. I saw one by Nina Ribena, and she used thimbles as the end cap. So I didn't have any end caps. I thought, I do have thimbles. That is ideal. I can do that. And all you have to do is, let me grab a thimble out. Hold on. In order to make your end cap with a thimble, you just have to use an awl to get a hole through that middle bit there. Let's have a go at doing it. See if I can do it without any mishaps. As you are watching, you don't want to damage your table either, which is something. I've got a lot of awls here. I had those for a class that I was teaching how to make books, very simple books at one point. Okay, so what you have to do is try and find the center, and very carefully just push it all through. It's quite soft, and once you've got it through, you can make it as big as you want it to be. And voila, you have an end cap. How cool is that? So yeah, I then went on Amazon and got myself a whole load of thimbles. I thought, they're going to be great end caps. I did order some end caps, but they weren't going to arrive until, I don't know, 3 weeks. So I thought, there will be some other in other places, but the ones I wanted were going to be a while. So I thought, this is great. Also had a thought about these is that I could paint them. Not sure what I'd use. Probably enamel paint, like the stuff that you use for little figures and things. That might work. So I'm going to try that at some point. Also wondered about how Posca pens in a varnish would work. So I might try that. Let's have a go. I'll grab a Posca pen, see how it goes. Okay, because the colours I want to use are kind of like warm oranges and yellows and stuff. So I think, let's have a look, see how this goes on. Well, it's supposed to cover metal, but I'm always a bit sceptical. Okay, it's working. And imagine if I put some varnish on this, it will still be shiny. Well, that's the plan anyway. What did you do today? Oh, I just spent the day colouring in some thimbles. Typical me. I actually quite like the texture bit that comes through there. That's cool. I did try the PBO guide. It's like a bit like a rub and buff stuff, but it comes off too easily. So make sure that's fastened on on my finger. You can colour it easily. That's one thing. You can just turn it around and colour it in. Well, this seems to be working. I'll reserve judgment on this until I have put some varnish on and see how it holds up. You could just leave it in the silver if you wanted to, but I'm just kind of I had some antique gold ones that I really liked, and they will be on their way, and so I'll have some of those to go at. Oh, I'm kind of liking it. I like that bit of texture coming through. Do I want to try and do the edge? I'm going to end up painting my finger here, aren't I? Yeah, probably. What? That works. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to whack some varnish on this one and see what's occurring. Oop. And then you just throw it all over your desk. No, I quite like this. I could also then, once I've varnished it, whack a little bit of diamond glaze over the top to give it some sparkle. Oh, do you know what? I'm just going to throw everything at this and see how it turns out. This is how I find out most of the things I do. You just have to try it and see what happens. What could go wrong? Nothing really. I mean, I could get a thimble that won't hold its colour, but it's not a big deal in the end of things, is it? Right, so let me move a bit of paint before it sticks onto my desk. Okay, anyway, I'm going to show you, I've got a couple of videos that I've already made of these ones here. Basically how I put them together. It's really easy. All you're going to need is your lengths of yarn, ribbon, fabric, scrap fabric, whatever you're going to use, and some wire. And I used this wire. Is it this wire? No, it's a bit thinner than that. I have some thinner wire somewhere. Anyway, any wire, as long as it's fairly thin. She said. Aha, it was this one. So it's kind of like a generic-y wire stuff. And you're going to need some pliers, some round nose pliers or needle nose pliers, some cutters, and yeah, to trim your wire down with. You will also need some jump rings for attaching. If you want to put it onto a bookmark, you could also put these onto a lobster claw and have something that attaches that way. The world is your lobster with these, I have to say. So, roll VT. So here I am laying out my lengths of ribbon and thread. I've got some eyelash yarn, I've got some thin grosgrain yarn and ribbon, and whatever I had left in my scrap box. You may recognise some of these from the kits I've been sending out. So the brooch kits and the cuff kits may have had some of these bits and bobs added in. And these are the bits that are left over. So I'm just literally trying to get them to the same length. I have got this handy dandy little cutting mat that I keep in a drawer at the side of my desk. And that helps to get the lengths correct. And it will also help me to find the centre when I want to tie them together. So you could use thin silk for this. You could use organza, georgette, something soft and flowy, ripped into scraps. You could use old scrap fabrics as long as they're not too thick. Just let your imagination go to town. Think of a colourway that you want to work in. Mine is obviously all the colours, as usual. But yeah, you could go one colour. So nice greens would be nice, or a nice purples, or whatever you like, whatever takes your fancy. And just lay out enough so that you've got an idea of where they're going to go and how thick it's going to be. Now I'm going to get some... I've got some waxed linen thread, which I'm going to find the centre of, and I'm going to tie a knot. I use the waxed linen thread because it holds its knot, otherwise you're fumbling around trying to keep things in place. And I make that into a double knot, and I think I might even do a triple knot some point in time just for security. But what I want to do is to have these dangling in there so that I can attach beads to them. Now I'm getting some wire out of my wire stash, and I'm going to cut myself a length of this off because I want to have a way for this to go up through that thimble that I'm going to use as the end cap. So measuring off a length, probably about 13-14 centimetres. I didn't really know what length to make it, so I kind of judged I'd probably need a fair bit because I want to add some beads onto this as well. So snipping that off at that point, and then you have to kind of make something on the end so it doesn't fall through. So I'm going to make a little loop on the end. That's the intention. So I'm just going to take it around and make a loopage. You can probably see what I'm doing. Kind of bending it to a right angle and then looping it back round again to make a loop. Not very great a loop, but it is a loop nonetheless. And then just wrapping that round to hold it together and make it secure. This bit is going to be hidden up inside the thimble, so it doesn't really matter too much that end is still sticking out there, although I think I do try and trim it off a little bit and crunch it back in. Then I'm going to find the centre of my bundle and I'm going to try and thread this through quite close to where I have tied my knot so that it is all nice and secure in that whole bundle of thread. There are much better ways I could have done this. I could have wrapped this round the bundle, but you know, this is what I did. So I just thought I'd show you. You probably have a better way of doing this. And if you do, please use it. Now I think that's all in there, just making sure it's all covered in. And what I'm doing is using some diamond glaze for the inside of this because it's quite dimensional, so it does kind of hold and grasp, and then I pull that through so that will then hold in place. And the diamond glaze is great for this. It just kind of gripped hold of all that bundle and holds it in place. And I've chosen out a few beads to go on top, so I'm popping these ones back on there now. I tried them out just to see if they worked before I commit. And yeah, I quite like this one. It's got 3 beads on instead of 2. I did one with 2 beads. This is a 3 bead and one. Then what you have to do is to hold your piece of wire and then you bend it into like a right angle, reposition your pliers, and then you're going to take that round to make a loop, and then you need to wrap that wire whilst holding the loop. You need to wrap that wire around about 3 or 4 times just to hold it, and then you can trim that off, and that's your loop ready to be attached. Please make sure that you're wearing eye protection when you snip off the end of your wire because you don't want it to fly up and hit you in the face. Not a good plan. Now I'm finding those lengths of linen, like waxed linen thread, and I've got some beads that I want to put on there. The good thing about wax linen thread is that you don't have to put a needle to it. If your hole is big enough, you don't have to thread it onto a needle. You can just literally thread it straight on. And underneath that bead, I'm going to put a little knot or two just to hold it in place. Yeah, 2 knots on that one. And then I'm going to add another bead onto this as well. Actually, these are not beads, but bells. I have some of those little tinkly bells, which I quite love. Again, if you've had my bracelet and brooch kits, you will have found some of these in there because they are a favourite of mine. Love them to bits. So they're going on there. So I'm going to put 2 bells on either side. And the rest of this is just me adding on those bells and tying them in place, trying to vary the length at which they hang, if you see what I mean. So I gave it a little trim there at the end. I didn't trim them all square across. I kind of cut into them just so that they dangle better. And here I've put a little jump ring on the top of that loop and attached it to one of these beautiful little bookmark things that I got from Amazon, and they are particularly lovely, and that fits into my book really nicely. So these are my 2 tassels. This one was the one that I added the bells to, which I really like its jingle jangliness. And that is going to go onto a journal. So I've kind of left that end clear, which will probably either have a lobster clasp on the end of it, so I can clip it on, or some other way of me attaching it to the end of the journal. This one, as I said, I found these beautiful bookmark, little metal bookmarks, and all I did was with this one was I've got some jump rings, and I just threaded my jump ring. I sort of never pull them apart that way, always kind of bend them sideways. That's what you do with jump rings, otherwise you'll weaken the metal. So you kind of bend it sideways, attach on your bookmark, and then rebend it back into position. And that looks really good inside a book, and I'm quite happy with those. And they're nice for gifts, actually. If you think of anybody who likes reading and you want to give them something special, it's a really good idea to make a few of those. Maybe even if you're a parent and you want to make some of these as gifts for your kids to give their teachers, it's a nice little teacher present as well. So yeah, I'm going to make a load of these, absolute loads. I've got more thimbles as I can use as end caps, and look at how this one turned out. I put my varnish on top, then I also added in some of my dragonfly glaze, which I love, and then I added some of the little stars on there as well, and re-varnished it with this Duraclear gloss varnish, and it's turned out a treat. Really like it. I'm going to try all different colourways now with my thimbles, and I think they make great end caps. I don't get on with thimbles for sewing particularly, but for this, I think they're great. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, please don't forget to show me your thumbs, and also if you're liking the content that I put out here, then do consider subscribing. It does an awful lot for my algorithm here on YouTube, which then puts it out to a few other people who might enjoy seeing what I'm doing. Have a great rest of your day. Have a wonderful week, and I will be back here soon with something else. Bye for now.